I was raised primarily in Long Island. I was born in Flushing, but we moved there shortly afterwards. And I was born to a Barbadian mother and a Jamaican father. Their dreams were to go send me to school so I can go to a great university so I can get a good job and live happily ever after, because they didn't have a very strong financial background in the Caribbean. And I did follow that to a pretty decent standard, got high grades in my primary schooling, then went to Columbia University here in the city, and that's actually why I'm still here. So after leaving Columbia University, I knew that I wanted to be a doctor, but I changed courses a little bit to become one of that practices natural medicine. But I realized that I would have to become an entrepreneur first before I became one, because I knew that going into debt to complete my dreams was not going to serve me as well as I wanted to. I have a very different dream of helping people without having to think about money at all. So that's why I'm still here in New York City.
Wow, there's a lot you just told me. I have a lot of questions about it.
Wow.
Can you first just tell me about, other than going to the Caribbean on vacation, I don't really know that much about the people there. How do they perceive money and view money down in the Caribbean? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
While I wouldn't consider myself the expert
okay.
on their habits and their mindset towards money, I can say that they're not exactly wealth driven by any stretch of the imagination. They live a primarily agrarian lifestyle, and they tend towards going to work and getting paid. The typical employee model of trading your time for money, and being and settling for this. Whatever it is that you can earn as a wage is ultimately what you're set to live with for your life, and then you don't think anything much of it. Money usually isn't discussed at the dinner table. It's the type of thing that makes people uncomfortable.
So did your parents kind of live by that? They didn't really talk about money growing up or talk about money with you?
Yes and no. My mother was a little bit more open about talking about financial situations, but my father, who worked 20 hours every single day as a physician's assistant at Rikers and Beth Israel Hospital.
Wow.
He almost never mentioned money, in spite of the fact that he brought home a salary upwards of about $200,000 a year. He was extremely, and honestly, penurious doesn't even begin. It's a very strong euphemism. He was very penny pinching. Never spent more than on what he had to, especially not on, say, our education or on our extracurricular activities or anything like that, because he was always clinging towards, say, the safety of having the house all on and having the mortgage paid and having the lights paid and everything like that. There's definitely a fear type aspect towards his treatment of money. And he always talked about us never thinking of ourselves as rich, even though amidst many of the other members of our primarily African American and Hispanic community, we were far more abundant than them. But he never wanted us to think of us as rich.
What do you think was the root of his fear? Was he just afraid he was going to get sick one day and need the money, or what was the root issue there?
What's most likely is that once you have lived in very destitute situations, like not even having, say, enough food to eat when you're back in Jamaica, or living very close to the earth and close to the dirt, like when you're in Jamaica, then moving here and then finally, after years of struggle, finally managing to attain money. I imagine he did not want to take any risks that could possibly compromise the only way that he has ever learned how to make money, which is go and trade many of his hours of his life to create a wage, and just don't think of anything outside that. Now we have this settled. We don't want to risk that at all.
So no, he wasn't so much into investing or things like that.
Not
you
even
couldn't see that.
Not even a little.
Connect those dots.
Not even a little.
Got it. And so when you went to Columbia, Did your parents help you with tuition, or how was that situation?
That's an interesting question, actually. My mother was an employee of Columbia University. In fact, she actually was in charge of real estate of the Audubon Center, which is about at 166 and Broadway here. Because of this, I was able to go to Columbia tuition free.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, this did not include room and board, nor did it include meals. And my father was adamantly against paying for this sort of arrangement. He said that if I'm going to go to school, I should just come back home. You know, you should. He wanted me to go to school only for free because he was not willing to really invest in that. Because again, I know he was gripped by this, like him not having enough money. So my mother, he did ultimately pay it though. He agreed because he was pressured by both me and my mother, but he complained every single step of the way, and ultimately in the last year he didn't pay for it. It was only when my mother died and I got her inheritance that I was able to use that to pay for like the last year of like room and board.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Well, do you hold any resentment towards your father about that? Like, or are you okay with, you understand where he was coming from? How do you feel about it?
For years, I did hold a lot of resentment towards him, but I only honestly in the past year realized how this was shaping my own subconscious attitudes towards money. And it's honestly keeping me in a fear state by kind of giving so much power and energy towards what he was doing to keep me from spending too much. In other words, I've overcome a lot of this block. I'm trying to make amends with him and foster more understanding between him so that I can move on and be more fruitful in my entrepreneurial endeavors.
And in your own spending habits, you try not to be quite so frugal. Like, is that what you're kind of saying as well?
Yes.
Or do you find yourself like
I
having a hard time with money, spending money also?
Both of those are actually true at the same time. I was known among my friends for being the most frugal. The absolute, like literally, I'm going to be the poorest doctor is what I used to tell people. I'm not going to spend money on anything like that. No fancy car, no fancy shoes. As you can see, my attire is quite humble even now. I've only recently, say in the past 2 years, come to understand that I can also achieve wealth while being a servant to the people. So I'm still in the process of undoing all of that programming that has kept me in a state of honestly lack in the past few years. My spending habits have changed now that I have found a vehicle that allows me to take spent money and turn that into an asset. But I still have much growth to do in order to make this something that's going to be last us for generations, pay for every single goal born down the line.
So you mentioned you started medical school, but you left. Why did you decide to leave medical school?
I may have misspoke.
Oh, okay.
I did not enter medical school in the first place. I graduated Columbia's pre-medical program.
Oh, okay.
I took gap years with the intention of going to medical school 2 years later. Then I had a spiritual awakening as to what I had to become. You know, I have to become this natural doctor that serves as the bridge between traditional Chinese, Indian, African medicine and our conventional Western medicine. In doing that, I become the example of healthcare by becoming very great with martial arts, very great with music. You know, I use health to make myself the best I can possibly be, and then be an example for that for all the other doctors and all the other patients. Thus, making wellness and health and natural solutions more appealing to most people. So that aside, I realized that I'm going to need much more money than, paying for a medical school, going into debt, working for a hospital, and, being somebody else's financial leverage in order to make that happen. I realized I'd have to go into entrepreneurialism and build my own business in order to A, pay for medical school with absolutely no debt, absolutely no worry at all, and B, after graduating medical school, be completely free to travel the world and learn as much as possible while helping as many people along the way. Again, never thinking about healing somebody, offering medicines, offering my services for the sake of money.
Oh, you don't want to accept money for your services?
To the best of my ability, no. Honestly, I understand that a lot of people have the mindset that if it's free, it has no value, and so I'm not going to, do anything up front. And I don't want my patients thinking that their healthcare is something that is that cheap. The only reason I would ever charge somebody money in the future is so that I can get them into the mindset of that you must invest something up front in order for you to get something out of it. Maybe pay for the basic medical expenses, like the materials I'm using, whatever, but I won't need it at all, ever.
So explain to me how you're studying natural medicine right now. Is that what you're doing?
You are correct.
Okay, and what is the entrepreneurial part of that? Are you fundraising, or what are you doing related to that?
I have found a business model that has merged very beautifully education, in all industries, but very much so also in natural medicine. And they've merged this education aspect with a business plan that is focused entirely on combining everybody's spending and the economic power that this can create in order to compensate everybody collectively. In other words, it has almost a model of I cannot win unless you win as well. Unless you are also succeeding and you are also succeeding financially.
Can you describe this model? Just, we may not be able to get too in depth with it, but just kind of the gist of it. Yeah.
Very basics are, if say it's a referrals tracking system. If somebody were to recommend a product or service, let's say they like a movie or something. They like this movie, they tell a few of their friends about the movie, they rave about it because they love it so much. There's a chance that those people may end up going and seeing the movie as well. Those people may end up loving and raving about it. Those people may go up and see the movie as well. And this may go on endlessly, but the person who started that referral chain, say the person who opened their mouth first about the movie, while they may have done a bunch of advertising for this movie, they weren't compensated in any way for it, even though, that there was thousands, millions of dollars spent by the movie for advertising. What this company has done for every single industry is found a way to refunnel the marketing dollars back towards the people who are using average products and services on a daily basis, and have them share in the collective referral network and credit everybody 100% without any dilution. In other words, if that person, 300 people away from the person who started that referral chain, goes and sees the movie, the person who goes and sees the movie gets paid a certain percentage. The person who referred to that person gets the exact same percentage. The person who referred to that person gets the exact same percentage.
But who's in this model? Who's doing the payout?
It's actually the movie maker in this example, but in the large scheme, every manufacturer. They're the ones who are paying their marketing dollars for everybody to get that 100%.
So
referral.
So as a doctor or as a healer, who would be paying you?
Well, I would already have, after this is already established, this would come from either the customers that I have coached to gain whatever products or services that they're looking for at the best price or anything like that.
So you'll be selling products?
Basically, yeah.
Got it.
And on top of this will come from the other owners of the business who I've taught to do the exact same thing. We all, again, 100% share in each other's success.
And how far along are you in the development of this project?
It's still in its earliest stages. While I say I've secured customers, I have yet to basically expand distribution by teaching other people to develop more customers. I'm still developing it, and so once it is developed, then that is when I decided I will go and pursue medicine, because I'll have the financial standing to do so.
So it will also help finance your education and the...
Absolutely.